Hello and welcome back to Tits, Tums and All Things Mum. I'm here with the lovely Sophie from Last Minute Mummy today. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. We actually met at the Glow Mama Awards, didn't we?
We did.
What a night that was.
I know. It was I don't know, it's your first time.
It was my second.
Oh, your second.
Yeah.
It was my first time. I felt so honoured to be there. But I had huge imposter syndrome.
Oh no, you absolutely deserve to be there. You were nominated.
I know, and then you saw my name up in lights. And,
Isn't it amazing just to see your face up on that screen and you're like, that's me, oh my God.
Yeah, it was, especially for Last Minute Mummy as well.
Yeah.
It's my baby.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Such a good night.
It was a really, really, really good night.
Yeah, and the venue was beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
It was like a posh kind of, what would you call it, like a hall, but looking over the river, and it's just stunning, wasn't it?
Yeah, the view was stunning, and the food.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
so good.
Smoke and all kinds of things coming out of these dishes.
Yeah,
it's just
I mean, I'm not going to lie, I didn't eat anything because I had a really nervous belly. I was like, if I eat, I'm going to throw up. But afterwards, I definitely regretted that because I drank way too much of the free prosecco.
Well, yeah, it was flowing. It really was. It was like the river.
Yeah,
the prosecco was flowing as fast as the river.
I know, but it was such a good night, wasn't it?
It was, and inspirational as well because there were people like me. I wasn't expecting to win. But I was just there to have a good time, but then to sit and listen to the people who did win and the reasons why they were there and why they've got their pages and all of that. It was inspirational.
It's amazing, isn't it? I love it. And even if I don't get nominated, I will go every year because just being in that room and like absorbing all that energy from all the people is just incredible.
Well, it's also lovely to meet all of those people that you follow and you feel like they're friends but you've never ever met them, so it's just nice to go and see them, isn't it?
Definitely. Anyway, could you start by telling us a little bit about you? Right,
well, I'm Sophie. I'm a mum of 3 and some would class me as a geriatric mum.
I hate that. Isn't it over 35? I'm like, if I were to have children in 3 years, I would be a geriatric mum.
Well, let me tell you, it doesn't get any easier because, well, we had 2 children. We had plenty of miscarriages and decided to adopt. So after 10 miscarriages, we adopted 2 gorgeous children. They were 2 and 4 at the time. They're now 17 and 19.
Wow.
And we thought that was it. Our life was complete. But then at 43, I discovered I was pregnant.
That is wild.
And three days after I was 44, I gave birth to a miracle little boy. Absolute. We're very blessed to have him. But throughout my entire checkups for the 9 months that I was carrying him, I had to see a consultant. And every time we went to see this consultant, he reminded me that I was no spring chicken.
You're like, well, I know, but you'd have to keep reminding me.
I sort of, every time I had to steel myself to walk in there thinking I'm going to come out feeling like I'm 100 because he's going to tell me I'm a geriatric mum, I'm a no spring chicken, which he did. And I'm sure he got some kind of delight out of it. But anyway, so I'm a mum of 3 and I do have a husband as well, very long-suffering husband really, because I do all these kind of things and he's just like, okay. He didn't understand social media at all to start with. He's like, I have no idea what you're doing, but he's got up to speed now. We live in the New Forest.
Oh, lovely.
And we have a rabbit and a cat.
Lovely.
And I am Last Minute Mummy.
Yeah.
So I'm an actress and a presenter. I'm also a holistic therapist. I've got my own practice and I'll try and merge the two together.
Yeah.
So try and bring a bit of peace and calm to people who follow me as Last Minute Mummy, because mainly they're mums and dads and parenting. So just try and inspirational quotes thrown in here and there, a dusting of positivity, that kind of thing. Yeah. But then on the other hand, I heal people too.
Aww.
Magic hands.
I love that. And you've briefly touched on your kind of journey into parenting there. Do you mind just talking us through sort of from start to finish how you, all of that journey, and how you then felt when you got pregnant finally and had your miracle baby?
It was a long journey. We decided that we wanted to have children, and my husband decided he wanted a whole football team. So looking back, we were all like, yes, we were like excited little puppies that, we're going to do this. We're going to have lots of children. Yeah. Anyway, the bubble soon burst when we had our first miscarriage.
Yeah.
Which obviously we weren't expecting, and it was all joyful right up until that moment. And it whenever you have a miscarriage, I think from then on, any pregnancy after that is always tinged with, oh, what if, and whatever. So it was a really hard journey, but we picked ourselves up and we carried on. And the statistics say that one miscarriage doesn't mean that you can't ever carry, and all of that. So positivity kicked in, and off we went again. And sadly, we moved along with 10 miscarriages. And in the end, we just said we can't carry on, we can't do this anymore. We actually went on holiday, and when we were on holiday, we decided that we would come back and we would start the adoption process. So once the social workers were happy with our state of mind as far as moving from natural children to adopting, because they need to make sure that you've had a gap, just to be sure about what you're doing, we started the adoption process. And I would say to anybody who is on that journey or thinking about it, it enriched our lives. It is tough. And whatever I say today, I wouldn't want to put anybody off doing it. But it is intrusive, and it is tough. But what you have to realise is that all of the questions and everything that happens is for the good of the child. Because you don't want an out of the frying pan into the fire type of situation where they're taken away from their birth family and put into another family that might not be right. So you have to go through all of that, and we did, and it is tough. It is tough. But we were approved for 3 children, and our 2 came along. We went to the matching process, which again is really quite tough, because it depends, or back then it depended on how many points you scored. So there was us, and we were against other parents, other prospective parents, and it just happened that we scored enough points, and we got Katie and Josh. They were 2 and 4 at the time, and rather wild.
Were they related?
Full brother and sister. But I would say they were bordering on, even though they'd been in care for 18 months. I would say they were quite feral. And I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say anything I wouldn't say to them. And I think they would probably say the same. Looking back, they can see that they were like that. But anyway, we met them for 1 week. And then they moved in, and we shut the front door, and we were a family of 4.
Wow.
That 1 week, we were like in a goldfish bowl. And everything we did was being assessed and watched, and it was that was pretty tough as well. But they came to live with us. We were their mummy and daddy, and it was the most wonderful feeling in the world. We had our issues with Katie particularly. She only wanted a mummy. She wasn't bothered about having a daddy. All she wanted was a mummy. So we had to work really hard with her, and my husband, just really to get them to bond, which now they're hugely bonded and they're absolutely fine. But in the beginning, that was quite tough. And so that was it. We thought that our life was complete. We moved, and everyone settled in, and then at the age of 43 we had a bit of a surprise. So never say never. Never say never. In fact, I had a few friends who were about the same age as me. When I fell pregnant, they went to the doctors to find out what they could do. So they didn't, because it was something that they didn't actually want. But I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be listening to this that will have had people saying to them, well, if you just don't think about it, it might happen. What rubbish. I particularly feel that I had that. And I don't think it happened because I didn't think about it.
No.
I was at peace with the fact that I had 2 beautiful children.
Yeah.
We had a family, and I'd thrown myself totally into that, and that was great. And I wasn't hankering after a natural child as I had been in the past. I just think it's positivity, and it's I'm a positive person, and I like to think I attract positivity, and I just think it was the right time. Things only come to you, I believe. This is the holistic practitioner in me, but I believe things only come to you at the right time.
Absolutely.
And he came at the right time.
Yeah. Even if that did mean you were geriatric.
Even though I was rather old, I can tell you the 10 years between the two, the energy levels that you don't have at 44. If anybody discovers they are pregnant and they are at mid-40s, then just contact me. I'll try and help as much as I can. But the energy levels are they're just not there.
But what age were your eldest two when you fell pregnant? Were they able to help a little bit?
They were 9. Joshua was 9 and Katie was 11.
Okay.
And actually Katie was she's always been a mini me. But she was definitely a mini me. And she is like his second mum in a way. They adore each other. She's gone off to university now and he misses her. We all miss her, but he misses her dreadfully. And he's always really pleased when she comes back, but then there's always tears when she has to go again. But yes, so they were at the age where they could help. And I'd got a support network as far as my mum and dad were concerned.
That's good.
My husband was working away quite a bit, but my mum and dad were on hand. But the interesting thing about this was Katie didn't want anybody to know she was adopted. So we hadn't actually mentioned it to anyone. So none of my friends knew because we'd moved hundreds of miles. Nobody knew. So when they saw me holding my newborn baby, they actually thought it was my 3rd child. And we all know that the 3rd child, you tend to relax a little bit, don't you? You're not on edge the whole time. Until he was 2 years old. Josh was 2. So from 2, I knew what I was doing. But between newborn and 2, I had absolutely no idea, which is, that's natural, that's normal. But from in the outside world, everybody looked at me thinking it was my 3rd child. Thinking obviously she knows what she's doing. Well, I didn't. So inside, I panicked. Even just going out for the day, or even for an hour, I panicked. When I was with my friends, they all know now, and they all look back and they say, "Well, we wondered why you were just so panicky the whole time," and that's why, because I just had no idea what I was doing, but everyone else thought that I did. So that's our journey, really. We had all of the miscarriages. We went through lots of fertility treatment in various places, and we were told at one point it was just sheer bad luck. So you never found out why you kept having miscarriages? It was completely unexplained. I find that bit bizarre that in today's medicine, because I've had several guests that have struggled with infertility, secondary infertility, and I find it bizarre that people can go through that and they still don't know why they go through that, and go through multiple miscarriages, not just the one, but multiple. There must be a reason. It cannot just be bad luck. No. I went through every scenario. And I researched everything. And it sort of becomes part of your life, you start waking up thinking about it. And then on the fertility journey, it's like taking my temperature to see when I'm ovulating and all of that kind of thing. It's like a full-time job. Just to make sure that you are putting your body in the best position possible to become pregnant. Anyway, clearly it wasn't meant to be. And I always say that Katie and Josh were born for us. And they were meant to be for us, and we are so blessed to have them. And we've had our ups and we've had our downs. But that's not because they're adopted. That's because they're children. And that's what happens in every household up and down the UK. And as I said, then Will came along, and nobody actually knows how he survived because it's all unexplained. Maybe it was because he was a boy.
Yeah.
I can't carry girls. Who knows?
You'll
But then
never
would
know.
I have had 10 girls?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
My feeling is that at 43, I believe that I had become perimenopausal.
Yeah.
And I think there was some kind of hormone
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
before that. And once I hit perimenopause, maybe the hormones started to level out slightly.
Yeah.
And there was just that golden time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That boom, that's it.
Yeah.
I personally believe that it was hormones,
Yeah.
as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot to be said for hormones, and I think in medicine in general they need to do a lot more around hormones, because actually you're not taught about any of the hormones and what they do to your body and all of those things and how they change throughout your cycle. So they maybe would be able to learn a lot more about miscarriage as a result of hormones by just kind of looking into it a bit more.
I do think that there needs to be a lot more research. But, I mean, it's great that people are talking about menopause and perimenopause now, which, 10 years, even just 10 years ago, people wouldn't. It was something that was very hush-hush and women had to just get on with it.
Yeah.
So I think, in general, hormones are something that we need. We laugh and we joke about it, being having PMT and all of this, and husbands having to steer clear and whatever. But actually, it's a real thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's something that can be quite serious for some people.
Yeah, definitely.
So but I believe that was my problem.
Yeah.
And Will came along at the right time.
Yeah. And what was it like? Like, how did you know you were pregnant, and what was it like the day that you found out?
I was physically shaking when I did that pregnancy test.
Yeah.
Because I had a feeling.
Yeah.
Obviously I'd had 10 pregnancies to know those early signs.
Yeah.
Some people don't get anything at all.
Yeah.
I didn't get huge amounts. Some people are constantly sick.
Yeah.
Their boobs hurt
Mine
like
was
crazy.
always my boobs.
Yeah.
I remember because my second was a whoops child. I was at work and I was sitting doing some documentation and my boobs started to hurt and I was like, no, what? And I stole a pregnancy test from the cupboard and went in the toilet then and there and did it. And I was like, on a night shift, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was like, oh shit, I'm pregnant.
Oh, you'll always remember that one, won't you?
I know. But yeah, some people can get to like really far on in the pregnancy and not even know.
No.
But you obviously knew your body.
For me, it was fingernails.
Oh.
My they're very short at the moment anyway, but they broke off very, very early on.
Yeah.
Sort of flaking, not great at all. And my boobs were tender, not hurting so much, but I was constantly pressing them because in my head I had resigned myself to the fact that it wasn't going to happen. Yeah. And yes, I was pregnant now, but it wasn't going to carry on. Oh. So every twinge, I was like, oh, this is it. Yeah. This is it. It's over. But then when I didn't get a twinge, I was like, oh, no, that's not good. Yeah. Because I can't feel anything now. Yeah. And in the very early stages, when I hadn't actually got a bump or anything like that, I did tend to press. Oh. They are still tender. Yeah. I probably still am. Yeah. But I do remember sitting in the doctor's surgery before I was really early on. I was probably only about 8 weeks. Yeah. Something like that. And I said, I want you to do something for whatever, do something for me to keep this baby. Yeah. Give me more progesterone, make it stick. Yeah. And she just said, I can't do anything for you. This is the early stages. I mean, she was very good, and she did phone the consultant at the hospital just to check if there was anything. And I'm sure she knew there wasn't. I'm sure she was doing it for my benefit. But I sat there in floods of tears. Basically saying, make this baby stick. Yeah. You're a doctor, make it stick. Yeah. And clearly she couldn't. And I went away completely deflated and just, not in a great space at all. And throughout the whole pregnancy, looking back, it was textbook. Yeah. He knew what he was doing. But for me, I went slightly crazy because I just didn't know. Yeah. Every day, at 11 weeks, I started to bleed. And I thought, that's it. Why did I get pregnant in the first place for it to all be over? Anyway, we had a scan and we heard the heartbeat. And that was the most incredible thing. But yeah, those 9 months were probably the most stressful 9 months I've ever had. And
did you get to a stage that you hadn't got to before in a pregnancy and think, this might actually stick?
Yeah, I think probably it was around the 20-week scan when I really thought, actually, we might have something here. But it didn't stop those feelings of, I don't want to lose you. You're so precious. I don't want to lose you. But yeah, the birth story is something else. That's actually on my website. It was pretty horrific. And he wasn't very well. They handed him to me and he was grey. So even throughout those 9 months of me being a little bit crazy about, I'm going to lose him. But even on the day he was born, he was grey. He wasn't making any noise whatsoever when they handed him to me. And my first words were, why isn't he moving? Why isn't he making a noise? And they took him off me and took him over to the baby unit. And there was a baby doctor with her back to me. And I could just see her doing this. And I was like, oh no, we've come this far. We've come this far. But he's a little fighter. I say little, he's huge. He's only 7 and he's in age 11 to 12.
Oh my gosh, it's a big boy.
He's a big boy. So that in itself, he's a strong character. I think that got him through.
So there you go. He was the one that was meant to stick.
He is. He was the one.
And you've got your lovely little family now, your little unit, and you talk lots about them growing up to be teenagers, having teenagers, and a younger one as well. What's that like in the home?
It can be challenging at times, especially with the language difference between the two. We sheltered Katie and Josh from a lot of language or a lot of things that maybe their peers at the time had access to. But we can't do that with Will so much because he will walk in when if they're having an argument, as they do, as siblings do. And so he will walk into them saying things to each other. And they're very respectful as far as we're concerned. So when we're all together, there's no problem. But he will hear that, or he'll walk in when they're watching something on the television, or he will hear them with their friends. So that part of it was quite challenging. He's grown up a lot quicker than they did. But I think in general, children do tend to grow up a little bit quicker.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember growing up that quickly when I was younger. I was still out, at the age of 7 and 8, I was still out like playing, chalking on the road and making like pretend streets on the road. Kids now are buying like MAC makeup and just, it's wild.
Yeah, they do. In my opinion, I think they do grow up too quickly, and devices particularly don't help. And online for kids is, we only allow Will to have kids' YouTube. But even that, I've watched some of the things. He's very much into Minecraft and things like that. So that tends to be what he. But even some of those things, I'm like, no, I don't want you to be watching that. That's not appropriate. But on the flip side to all of that, we have 2 older children who adore their younger sibling and are very capable of getting him a drink if I need them to, or playing with him. The age gap is 9 years between Josh and Will. And when they were a bit younger, Josh was absolutely fine with playing Minecraft or Lego or things like that. The gap now is a little bit. I mean, Will be 8 in June, and Josh has just gone 17, and I think that gap now is much bigger than 9.
Well, it's teenagers, isn't it? They're like, I'm too cool to play with you.
Exactly. And with Katie, she's away. But when she comes back, she has a lot of time for him. But I think possibly that's because she hasn't seen him. And when she is at home, obviously she wants to go and see her friends, and she's got her own life to lead as well. So we're coming into a situation now where Will has 2 siblings, but actually he's more of an only child. Because Josh is going to university. university as well next year.
Yeah.
And then there will just be Will.
Yeah.
So he's in a funny position where he's got a foot in both camps, an only child and having siblings.
Yeah.
But it does work quite well. And yes, we have the tantrums and whatever, but yeah, it
Don't
works.
we all?
Well, that's it. That's just normal household, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it works well.
Oh, good. And you've briefly touched on, online and devices and things like that. What are your thoughts on that with having teenagers? Because obviously I'm not there yet. My kid, my daughter has asked for a phone. She's 5. I'm like, absolutely not until you go to secondary school. And even then I will be very protective of being online. But you have teenagers. So how has that been going through that stage?
It's a roller coaster for everybody.
Yeah.
And I've actually written 2 blogs, one on social media and kids and one on devices and kids. And they link very nicely.
Yeah.
I think, I say to my friends, I don't know how my mum and dad did it. We've got devices that we can hand over if we want a hot coffee or, just for a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
They didn't have that.
Yeah.
But actually, it was having those devices. Kids nowadays, you take the device off them and they're looking for it and they want it, and it's some kind of addiction that's there. Whereas back in my day, I didn't know about devices, so I was quite happy to chalk or colour or do other stuff.
We just played out,
Exactly.
building forts and
so
stuff.
actually our parents, they didn't have the difficulty of extracting devices or saying no to devices, because if their peers nowadays their peers have got these devices, then we're being mean by not letting them, and that's hard because all we want to do is make our children happy and say yes. But there are times when you have to say no, and with Katie and Josh particularly, being from a background that they came from, we had to be really, really careful about social media particularly, but anything that they could see online or anything like that. And so we were very, very, very strict. And it was only when Katie went to secondary school and she was catching the bus and I felt the need to keep in touch with her that I let her have her phone. So she was 11 by the time she got a phone. And it was very basic, and it was only really to contact me. Then once she'd got the phone, you're on a slippery slope then, because she wanted to have apps on it and she wanted to have social media, and her friends had got it. And her friends had got things like WhatsApp that they were discussing homework. And so then you get into a situation where she was out of the loop talking about the homework. And for me, that was a bad thing. But then if I open the floodgates and let her do that, then there's lots of other things that would come flying in as well. So it was a real mixture of emotions for me on that one. And eventually she started with Facebook. She didn't want Facebook because it's for oldies apparently.
Guess I'm an oldie then.
But it was that or nothing, so she had that, and then she asked for others, and eventually we let her, as long as I could monitor it, follow her and whatever. And to be honest, there wasn't really anything on there I was interested in. She did befriend every Tom, Dick and Harry to start with, and we had to then rein that in and say, look, you don't know these people. Would you go up to a stranger on the high street and say hi, or tell them your information, or even walk down? She was taking photographs of herself with, just a really quite revealing top, and not that you wouldn't do that, and you wouldn't walk down the high street like that. So we had to explain to her that not everything is as it seems online. She seemed to get the message, and as she grew up, she seemed to get the hang of it. And then COVID hit and lockdown came, and the only way really that they could interact with their friends was online. And school gave them all their own iPads. This was actually before COVID, but they all got their own iPads, which I wasn't very happy about, to be honest, because we could monitor the home stuff, but then bringing another iPad in, that I didn't know what was on there, and school had locked down a lot of the stuff, but I didn't know what was going on that iPad. Then lockdown came, and obviously teenagers then became quite lonely, really. And it was a tough time for them. She was 15 at the time. And we had a device ban upstairs. No devices were allowed upstairs. But I decided that if they wanted to, they could take their device to their bedrooms, but it had to stay outside their room overnight. So devices were allowed upstairs just for a short time, but I put a time limit on it. 9 o'clock, no devices. They have to be outside your bedroom door. And every night I'd go and check, and there were the devices. What I didn't realise was that the school iPad wasn't in the school bag downstairs. The school iPad was still in the bedroom. So she was being very sneaky. And I trusted that she wasn't going to do that, and she did. And she actually uploaded a song to SoundCloud that she really liked. I had no idea what SoundCloud was at the time, didn't even know it existed. And she then somebody commented, publicly commented, that he liked that as well. I say he very loosely, but then he suggested that they take the conversation offline. Now, to cut a very long and traumatic story short, within a week she was groomed. And the police got involved, and we were told that it wasn't just a he, it was a gang. And they had told her that she was their soulmate, that her friends and family were no good for her. And we were probably days away from her going to meet them. It was awful. Really, really, really traumatic. And the reason I found out about it was because I just happened to check her phone. And there was a message from somebody I didn't know. And I can't quite remember the details, but I know at the time it started alarm bells ringing. I thought, right, what's happening here? And so the next night I went into her room when her devices were on the outside of the door, and found that she had a school iPad. And the school said that their systems protected the children while they were at school. But the iPad needed to be protected at home through our own Wi-Fi system, which it should have been, but because of the way it was set up at school, it didn't recognise certain things at home. And there was a gap, basically, and she'd fallen into that gap. Anyway, the police were involved, and all devices were taken off her completely on the police advice, which was really tough for her, because we were still in lockdown. And so she had nothing to do with the outside world at all at that point. And any homework or anything she had to do, schoolwork she had to do, had to come through me. And I had to deal with the school to get worksheets and print it all out for her. So it had a knock-on effect, but essentially she was safe. But it took probably a couple of weeks or so for her to realise that we were right. And that there was something very wrong with what she was doing, because even when we told her and the police got involved, she was still of the opinion that the person that she was speaking to was that person and wasn't going to harm her. And that's the difficult thing, that as children grow up, they're so innocent, and you don't want to take that innocence away from them, and you certainly don't want to frighten them. But you do have to realise that there are people out there that aren't who they say they are. And our children have to realise that. It's
a scary world, isn't it, now?
It's really scary.
We didn't have any of this growing up. There was just not. And you have to protect your children so much more now in different places than you would when we were growing up.
And I see mums your age on social media now talking about the difficulties that they're having because their children want a phone and they're still at primary school, and they don't, they want to say yes, but they want to say no, and they want to keep them safe. And
I'm a point blank no. Absolutely not.
So you should be really. I mean, I can't tell anybody what to do, but my advice is always say no. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. That's just in general, but don't do it. And you have to protect your children, because you know them sometimes better than they know themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
And even when they get to be teenagers, be prepared for the storming up the stairs and the door slamming.
Yeah.
I
get that now with a 5-year-old.
But that's worth it.
Yeah.
Because of what you're saving them from.
Yeah. We bought my daughter a phone actually from Amazon, which was £30. It's got camera, games, like calendar, timer, all of that stuff, but it has no internet and no text message or anything like that. And that kind of satisfied her, because one of her friends does have a real phone, like a 5-year-old, and she's saying, you know, so-and-so's got a phone, why can't I have a phone? So we bought her a phone, but obviously she can't do anything on it, but it has satisfied her for now. So for those out there having that difficulty, there is a phone on Amazon that you can get that's £30, and hopefully that will satisfy their need for a phone.
I think the thirst for being a grown-up when they're little.
Yeah, Bella loves taking her little handbag and putting her phone in it, and I think that's all she wants to do. She doesn't understand that she actually doesn't have the things that a normal phone has.
No, so. And I think that's fine, but we particularly with Katie, we had to rein her in as far as growing up.
Yeah.
And I have to say, and she won't mind me saying this, I'm sure, now she's 19. She would do anything to go back.
Yeah.
I think we all would when we get to be grown-ups.
Yeah.
You know, we'd like that time to be a child again.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's really important that children do. And I know there's a lot out there at the moment about social media and children and devices.
Yeah.
And I sort of jumped on the bandwagon a little bit by me writing blogs, but going back to being a geriatric mum, there is a good side to it.
Yeah.
And that is that I've been there, I've done it, and I can give good advice on the good things and also what happens when it all goes wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm here for, really.
Yeah.
So
bless you. That must have been really hard to go through. Bless you.
It was really hard, really hard, and it was heartbreaking to see just what Katie had become as far as her mindset is concerned, that this stranger in a very short space of time could just turn things around so easily. Yeah. So everybody just, it's a cautionary tale. Just beware.
Yeah. Definitely.
And if you think, if your children tell you that you're snooping, no, you're not. You're protecting.
Yeah. On that note, shall we spin the wheel?
Oh, why not? Why not?
Okay, do you want to go ahead and spin?
Oh. That was quite a gentle spin.
It's all right. Oh, biggest motherhood pet peeve.
Oh, dear. Right. Now, this is the other thing about another cautionary tale for when you get to being perimenopausal or menopausal. You don't be put on the spot.
Yeah. We were saying, weren't we, in the green room, that like being put on the spot, you're just like, And
I know that when I answer these on the way home, I'll be like, why didn't I say that?
I know.
Why didn't I say that?
I run through entire conversations in my head after I've had them, being like, oh yeah, should have said that, shouldn't I? And I'm not even perimenopausal yet, so God help me when I am.
But there are things out there that can help you.
Yeah.
But brain fog is something, not to look forward to.
I'm screwed because I have brain fog every day. So when I go through menopause, I just...
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
So, biggest motherhood pet peeve. Oh, my goodness. Well, it's more than a pet peeve, I think. Devices are my biggest thing is... Will comes home from school and the first thing he asks for is where's his device? And I'm like, no, you've got homework, you've got reading, you've got after school clubs. I do tend to keep him really busy to try and stop that. My absolute main pet peeve will be devices, and if particularly, my husband's not going to like this very much, but he will hand him a device if he needs to take a phone call, and I know that's fine. Take a phone call, do an email, give Will something to do. But in our day, I'd have been given a book, or something like that. And so at the moment, I'm trying to shift from automatically picking up the iPad to actually, here you go, have a book.
Yeah.
And I did that the other day, and it worked really well. And
good.
Will actually read the entire book. I told him just 2 chapters, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
He read the entire book.
Yeah.
So it does work.
Yeah.
But probably my biggest pet peeve will be wherever we go, whatever we do, there's always a device.
Yeah.
And I really, really don't like that. And then I see when we go out and other people at the tables, I'm not judging in any way, but my children see other people on tables with devices.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, you can't. I've bought you some colouring. And
See, I am that parent. I mean, sometimes, don't get me wrong, we do bring like colouring or little toys or something like that. But my children, when we go out for dinner, are absolutely feral. And all I want, like, I'm fully of the mind that children can be children, but I'm like, sit down, be quiet, don't disturb other people. But sometimes I do whack out the tablet and I'm like, there you go, be quiet. But we're going on holiday, as I said to you before, in half term, and we're doing a device-free holiday.
Wow, that's brave.
I know, I'm scared. So we're staying in glamping pods and there's no TV.
No.
We're not taking tablets. I've got to obviously take my phone, but they're not going to be allowed to use it. And we're going to take it back to nature and enjoying the surroundings because it's in such a beautiful place. And like there's chickens literally roaming free. We're going to take the frisbee, the balls and stuff like that, and just play and take it back to what it was like when we were kids. But I am terrified because we will be eating out like a few times and we're going to have to do that without devices. And things like the car journey, it's like a 5-hour drive, doing that without devices. And I'm like, oh my God, we rely so much on these devices now. And especially with my son, we are thinking about him actually being autistic. And sometimes he gets so overstimulated that his tablet is his kind of downtime to just kind of focus on that, and it really calms him down. So we have to find another thing to kind of calm his brain down, and we haven't yet found that.
No, I can understand that, and don't get me wrong, our devices come to restaurants with us. But I have a rule that no devices are allowed until we've actually studied the menu and the order has been taken.
That's a good
and
idea.
it's only then that the devices can come out, and then they come out, and when the meals arrive they go away, and they don't come out again until everybody's finished. So I still, he has his device, that absolutely it's great because we all enjoy the meal there. And that's
otherwise you just end up so stressed, don't you? Because they're wanting to like run around and be a bit crazy.
But if it was up to him, Will would sit down at the table and take the device straight away, wouldn't even bother looking at the menu, and would have half an eye on one eye on his device and one eye eating, if it was left to him. So that's why we have these rules, but the devices do come and they are used at the table. But when we sit down and he looks around and says, well, that boy's got one over there, why can't I have mine? I'm like, no.
Well, that boy is not you. That boy is not you.
Read the menu.
My daughter always uses that on me. Well, this person's got that. This person. I'm like, I don't care. Are they you? No, they're not.
Exactly.
But this morning, my husband actually got up with the kids this morning and left me in bed, which is really nice.
Wow.
But when I came out, they were both on their tablets. And then I had to then prise them off of them to get them to have breakfast, to get dressed. And that was really, really hard because normally there's no screens, no TV, no tablets until they've both had breakfast and they're both ready for school. Once they're ready, do what you want, watch telly, play your tablet, because then there's not a mad rush. But taking the tablet off them this morning was fun. I had all the tantrums and then eventually they got ready for school. But by then it was time to leave. So they didn't get more tablet time after. So
I think there's definitely a place in the world for them. But it's just when that time.
As a bribery to get stuff done.
Well, I mean, breakfast, it's the same probably up and down the country as well. But in our house, once Will has eaten his food and everything is done and ready to walk out of the door, if there's time, then he can go and watch something if he wants to. But more often than not there isn't, because he's slow.
Aren't they all?
Yeah.
I have to ask them about 1 million times to get their shoes on to get out the door. I'm like, why did it take you so long to get your shoes on?
But I would say that's what mine is.
Tablets and devices are going to be a never-ending battle for most parents, I think, in the current times.
I think they are. I think they are, and if we could just try and get back to basics and not have the demand. I think that's what it is. I think we all collectively need to make a decision, or there's got to be some kind of government act that comes in to stop it. Because it will get worse and worse, and it will snowball, and it is difficult. It really is really difficult.
Definitely.
And it is a challenge at the moment for children who think they know what is good for them, but then parents who know better.
Definitely. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been really lovely speaking to you.
It's been great to speak to you too.
And hopefully we'll get you back again, or see you at the next Glow Mama Awards.
Oh, God, that would be brilliant.
Hopefully you'll get nominated again.
Oh my goodness. I was so pleased when I got nominated. Honestly, it meant the world to me. Not having huge amount of followers as well. It meant the absolute world to me.
Well, it's well deserved.
Oh, well, thank you. And yours was too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching at home. Please give me a review, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube as well, let us know in the comments what you think about the whole devices, tablets, all of that stuff. And thanks for listening and watching.